Testing. There you go. Hello. Hi. How's everybody doing? Very cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out. Did everybody get through the little walkathon or everything? Yeah. Was it over by now, or is it? Ah, okay, good. Because I hate walking. Not going to do that. Anyway, I want to thank you for coming out. Also, I want to thank the promoters for asking me out here. It's been a crazy 4 years now, because we started the kind of like resurgence of the fan conventions back in 2012 because that's our 25th anniversary of when we started. And it was pretty interesting because we've been doing conventions and it's been great, but we thought for a second there they might be dying out because we weren't doing as many. But then all of a sudden in 2012, with the 25th anniversary, we found that the fans are still out there. We had our first Star Trek Next Generation reunion show in Calgary, Canada, at the Calgary Stampede place, and there were 30,000 people that weekend just for Next Generation. So we had a feeling that maybe it wasn't dead yet, So that was great, and since then it's been great. I mean, 2012 to 2014, I probably did about maybe 40 shows, and all of them were just monsters. So we were happy about that. Last year I took a break, and this year we decided to come out and support our friends for their 50th anniversary of when Star Trek started. It's a very funny thing, because when we started, I grew up loving Star Trek and watching the show. In fact, my favorite character, my brother and my favorite character was Scotty. Just love Scotty, the best. And so, I was a fan of the original show. It wasn't anything unusual to me. And but when we started doing the Next Generation, and we started doing the conventions, people would come up to us and say, "Oh, my dad made me watch the original show. And so, I'm second generation." And we were going, "Yeah, that's really great," and we're kind of like snickering at the original guys because they're the old school and we were the new school, And how things have changed over the years. I had a lady come up to me today and say, "Oh, my grandfather, loved your show." All of a sudden, I feel a little pain in my lumbago, and my knees hurt and everything. So it's been an interesting thing. It's just very funny how things change, and especially with the Star Trek universe, because you got to understand that 50 years is a long time for a show to be on, and they didn't think it was going to be like this, and we didn't think ours was going to last that long, and all of a sudden you look up and it's quite the thing, and it makes you kind of take a moment and go, you know what, this thing has been going this strong for like a lot of years. You're talking about 50 years, and probably going to go a lot longer, because there's always going to be. So to me, like 4 years ago, I said, there's always room for Star Trek in our universe on television, and they've just announced that they're going to do another Star Trek series in 2017 next year, which is fantastic. They're actually going to do a. I don't know. You hear a bunch of stories about what they're going to do, but there's always room, especially for all the platforms that's out right now with Netflix and Amazon and Hulu. It's just crazy, how it can continue. But I've got to tell you, it really was, and I've never done this before. You guys are going to be my guinea pigs, but there's always kind of questions about how it started and my contribution and all that type of stuff. So I decided this time to really do like a little a little narration or a little biography about how it all came about. And of course, as we all know, it started the whole thing started in 1987. But in 1986, the end of 1986, I had heard that there was going to be Next Generation. They're going to do another TV show. And my brother and I both had loved the show when it started, and then it really took off for us in when I went to college, my third year in college, because I was in San Francisco, and there were 4 cable stations, not cable stations, but affiliates in San Francisco that ran Star Trek. So at one point, you watched 4 Star Treks in a row, the original. And so that's when it sort of took off in terms of it being a phenomenon, because, I mean, for us it was great because we used to have drinking games in college. And the story goes is that whoever could tell what the episode was about the quickest got a shot of tequila. And so, of course, whoever was the best would be drunk in about, but it was that's how the whole thing kind of started in terms of the iconicness of the show. And so anyway, cut to 1986. I hear that they're going to do a show, and I call my agents and managers, and I say, look, I really want to be part of this. Can you find out? So they called, and they called back and said, yes, we love Michael, but the show is already cast, everything's set. There's just, and if somewhere down the line there's a part for him, we'll give you a call, which, of course means don't call us, we'll call you, which, fine. I go, okay. I mean, my career was going pretty good, and I was working a lot, and so I just came, well, hey, it's a shot, and I was going on with the rest of my life. And but 2 weeks later, I get a call. Now, there's also another segue for this, which is, at the time I was dating this woman, and both of us were big Star Trek fans. And it was very interesting. We would have trivia contests to see who knew the most. And it was neck and neck for a long time. We dated for a while, and it was neck and neck. Just I get one, and she get one, and I get one, or we would guess and, never could, stump each other. Until one day she said, Michael, what are the words to the Star Trek theme? I went, I don't know. And she goes, yeah, there. I said, no, there's not. She goes, yes, sir. I said, no, there's not. Come on, you're lying. You just want to win. She goes, no. And she sang the words to the Star Trek theme. And so we were huge fans of the show. And so I was over at her house when I got the call, and they said, okay, you're going to come in on Tuesday or when it was and read for this part of a Klingon. And for me, that was the best news, because I loved Klingons. I mean, I thought they were like the coolest aliens. I mean, all the other ones were pretty cool, but the Klingons were my favorite. And so my girlfriend bought me How to Speak Klingon and a couple other books, and to get me prepared. And I read through them, and it was pretty interesting. But the thing I got from it is that I knew that you had to commit to a particular thing, a particular style. And so I just thought Klingons, I was going to be a Klingon. I walked on the set, well, not on the set, but at the audition as a Klingon. And I walked in the room, and I see a bunch of people that I read with all the time, a bunch of other actors, and I didn't talk to them. And I go up to the secretary and I go, excuse me, is there some place I can be alone? And she goes, yeah, right over there. Thank you. And I walk out, go into a room by myself, and I sit there. And I'm just like, scowling and not talking. And finally they say, okay, Michael, it's your turn. So I get up and I go in, and I see Gene Roddenberry, Bob Justman, and a couple other guys. I don't know who they were. And I'm like freaking out inside. But I was cool. And I said, hello, nice to meet you. Hello, nice to meet you. And I sat down, did my thing, got up, went, "Thank you very much," and walked out. And of course, when I got outside and outside the studio, I go, "That was Gene Roddenberry. I can't believe it. Just when I do." Oh, it was just. And so I go, "Cool." And I go home, and I'm at my girlfriend's house once again, and I'm telling her how it went. And she goes, "Wow, that sounds great, you know." And I get a call, and they say, "Oh, they want you to come back for another audition," which is big in the business because that means you got to call back, and they like you. So I went back in, and it was just the three of us. There were three guys. One was James Watkins Jr., and the other guy was James Avery, who played Will Smith's father or uncle in Fresh Prince. And it was between us three. And so we both went in, did the same thing we did before, came out, and they say, "Okay, thank you very much, guys. We'll let you know." And so we all leave. And they say, "Oh, Michael, excuse me a second. You left a tape here last time that we want to give to you because we don't want to have these tapes hanging around." And I wasn't fast enough to know that they didn't want me to leave because they wanted to tell me. And so I go outside the office, and I'm sitting there just, you know, I'm just like not even thinking about anything. I'm just waiting to go home or something like that. And the director comes out, Corey Allen, and he says, "Oh, it's going to be nice working with you, Michael." And then the casting director comes out, and she goes, "I wanted to tell him." And I go, "What? Oh, my God." And I hugged this guy like he was my father or something like that. I was like, "Oh, God, thank you." I mean, it was like crazy. So that was the beginning. And it was, you know, it's life-changing. I mean, the whole thing, to get a series, first of all, or a pilot for a series, it's life-changing for any actor. I mean, that's what you want in the television business. That's like your start. And so it was a very big deal for me, but it was also great because Star Trek, and I knew Star Trek really well. And so they didn't even give me time to take a breath. They said, "Okay, go over to Michael Westmore's place and start getting makeup. They're getting, you know, prepared for the makeup." And I went over there, and they did a head cast, they did a face cast, they did everything. And within about 2 days, I think about 2 or 3 days, I was actually on the set filming. I mean, it was so fast. It was, and the producers, and I don't know why, but they didn't introduce me to anybody. I just showed up, and I started reading lines, you know, and people are going, "Oh, yeah, this is Michael. Go ahead, he's going," and that was it. But the one thing that I did before I actually went on the set and started working is I snuck on the set as Michael Dorn. And I was just standing there. You know, nobody really knew who I was, and they were just doing their thing. And I just realized that these people were all, you know, the characters or the people they're playing were all these great, you know, wonderful people, and they're going out in space, and we're partners and comrades in arms and laughing and having a great time. And I went, "Oh, I think I'm going to do the opposite," you know? And so that's how the genesis of Worf was that, or his attitude was, I wanted to be the opposite of these people. And thankfully for me, we had great writers all through the series, and so they took off on that. And they wrote this great stuff for me, you know, where Worf is, you know, gruff and surly and not happy, and, you know, and is very nationalistic and egotistical about his own race, and they just took off with that. And from there, it just blossomed into this great role. A lot of people said, you know, "Well, you know, you weren't supposed to be on there like all the time." And I said, "Well, no, that's not true. My contract called for 7 out of 13 shows, which pretty much everybody gets. And then after the first year, then they renegotiate and they say, "Well, we want you all shows produced," and then you're in there. So that's what happened. It was quite the journey, and but it was a blast. I mean, the writers took off, and then the best part, along with meeting people and having a great time and all that, was I got a call to do Deep Space Nine after Next Generation was over. And even that was crazy, because after 7 years, I think Mike Westmore and I figured out I did 1,000 makeups in 7 years. And so after that, I was like, okay, the show was over, and I'm like going, okay, that's done. I'm done with, after Next Generation. That's it. No more makeup. It's over, and I'll never do that again, and I'm done, and forget it. And then they call me, and I go, forget you. I'm never doing that makeup. It's out of your mind. I went, how much? Well, I could do that, yeah, But, and that was even better. I mean, that turned into what I really wanted Worf to be, was to open up as a character, not be too, one or two dimensional. And that's what they did. And they had great writers on that show also. Michael Moore, Ron Moore, who does Outlander now. He's the producer of Outlander. He did Battlestar Galactica. He was one of the first writers. He did First Contact for us. So it's been like I said, it was a great ride, and we had just a fantastic time. But that's sort of like the genesis of how it happened. And now, we did 4 movies after that, and we're still out here on the circuit. And so, it's a great ride. It's been a fantastic ride for us, and we, as Marina would say, I owe it all to you guys, and I appreciate you guys being great fans and supporting the show as you did. But it was great. If you have any questions, there's a microphone there. If you want to ask me a question, if not, I'll just keep blabbering on. Blabber? Oh. I'm a little frightened about you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Your voice.
Yes. What about it?
Did you create that your own? Did you come up with it, or did?
Yeah, actually, the second. If you watch the original, our original 5 episodes, or 3 episodes into it, my voice was like this. And then Gene Roddenberry came to me and said, Michael, we got to do something about your voice. I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, you sound too American, for a Klingon. I go, oh, well, what do you want? He says, well, come up with something. And so I went away, and I think the next day I came back and I had 3 options. And one was sort of like an English kind of guy. The other one.
Could we hear them?
Can you hear it? The options, or the first option was, well, Captain, I really believe that it should be like this, which is, he went, no. And then the other one was just an animal, like, Captain, I'm going to do this. And he said, nah, don't do that. And then the third, I said, well, I can combine them and make him just, and I did the Worf thing. And I said, Captain, I do not believe this is the way we should proceed, sir. And that's the one where he went, that's him. And even the voice kind of just went off. I mean, it was really pretty fun to do that. Captain, I must protest. I am not a merry man. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Walter Koenig was Chekhov in Star Trek, and then he was Bester in Babylon 5. Were there any chances for you to, for example, be on Battlestar Galactica or any part of Star Wars or anything like that? Have you ever been offered something like that? And
the closest I got to something outside of Next Generation was they had called me to do the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek out of makeup, not as. In fact, one was in makeup, and then they called the next year, and that one was out of makeup. But it just never did materialize. But no, I was never asked to do that.
Well, with your connection with Ronald D. Moore, I would imagine that you could have been Leoben on Battlestar Galactica.
I let me tell you something. I loved Battlestar Galactica when it came out. I thought it was great, and I really wanted to do it. But those things are kind of up to the gods about that. I would have loved to have done it, but I think also is that, especially Ron Moore and all the other guys, they wanted their own identity. And all of a sudden, if you have Battlestar Galactica and everybody from Next Generation is on there, then it's not the same thing. And they wanted their own identity. They wanted the show to stand on its own, and they didn't want any connection to their past.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Mr. Dorn, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
On behalf of everyone. maybe some people know, but you did return to space in an episode of The Outer Limits. Can
Yes,
you
I did.
explain your part in that and how well that went?
Well, it was wonderful because I was out of makeup, which was great. I didn't have to get into makeup to be the monster, but as usual, it seemed odd that that I turned into a monster and started killing people. It's just I thought, well, you know what, this is going to be the rest of my life, But interestingly enough, I got to say, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, Michael, we're going to do Star Trek's going to go on for 20 years, and then you're going to be involved in another 20 years as Worf," I would have done it because the thing is, it's very rare that you get involved, and it's very rare that you have a chance to work as much as you do in the business. I mean, which is really, really hard to do. In fact, Andy Robinson, who played Garrick on Deep Space Nine. Very funny. I worked with Andy. He did an episode of Chips, and I met him then. In fact, he actually named my character in Chips, Jedediah, which was very funny. And then when we started doing next Deep Space, he and I would talk about the business. And if you recall, his big breakout role was he was the crazy psycho killer in the first Dirty Harry movie, and just a psycho. He was brilliant. I mean, just brilliant. And he said that that's all he got after leaving that show or doing that movie were psycho roles, and he didn't want to do it. So he turned down all these great psycho roles, and he says that was my biggest mistake. He said because they're offering you roles, and it's just acting anyway, so you got to do it. And so I like I said, I joke about them paying me money to go back to Deep Space, but I got to say that it was that easy to go back because it's work, and it's you're an actor and you're playing a role, the role very well, and the role is going to be around for a long time. So I thought it was an easy transition, and I like the idea of just continuing. Hi.
Hi. I do see occasional articles on the web about a rumor of a possible new Worf series.
Well, Captain Worf, yeah.
Oh, is that with you, or is that a younger Worf? Or?
No, actually, I in 2012 I got together with the story is interesting. I was in I think Phoenix, and I just blogged with this guy who was a blogger, and he wrote that I said that there was always space for Star Trek on television, and I had this idea of doing a spinoff. And from there, my agents got about 3 or 4 calls from producers who wanted to work with me. And so we chose one couple, and we said, okay, great. And it kind of took off from there. And it got close. I mean, people were interested, producers were interested, but then last year they announced the new series next year. And that sort of put the nail in the coffin, because they're not going to do 2 or 3 Star Trek series. And this series is going to be the J.J. Abrams timeline. But you never say never. We're in space, for God's sake, so, anything's possible. I mean, we think that, I don't want to do it, but the guy, Nicholas Meyer, is involved with the series now. And he directed The Wrath of Khan, I think, or wrote The Wrath of Khan. Did he write that or direct it? He directed it. He didn't write it. And he also wrote and directed the last Undiscovered Country. Thank you. And so, and I know Nick very well. I did a couple of panels with him and all like that. So I'm thinking about maybe giving him a call and just saying, maybe Worf comes, from the future in a time thing, it's possible. Because, right now they go through time like, who cares? Timeline, who cares about the timeline? So it's always possible. Thank you. Hello. I think the Star Wars is down the hall to the left. Yes.
Fandom is not exclusive.
Ooh, guess you put me in my place.
Out of all the many episodes that you've done, what was do you have like a favorite moment?
I have two favorites.
Two favorites.
Yes.
Can we,
Moments or episodes?
either one that you want to do.
Episodes are that's the one. There were two that Ron Moore wrote. One is called Soldiers of the Empire on Deep Space, and the other one is called Once More Into the Breach, where Kor has his last battle. And both of those were amazing episodes. I mean, they really do stand alone. I would send that to Nick and say, look, man, you got to. But that was. And I think that if I had a moment, it would be when I did on The Undiscovered Country with the original actors. There was, like I said, I was always a fan of the show. I knew the show very well, watched it all the time, loved the characters, met them all, at different times, and they knew us, and so it was great. But in The Undiscovered Country, there was a scene where we were all together. And for some reason, I'm just working, I'm in makeup, I'm talking, it's just a regular day. Long day, but a regular day. And there's an area off from where they were shooting where they set up all the chairs for the actors. And on this side is all the regulars, and on the other side they have all the guest actors. So you're kind of facing each other. And so I'm sitting in my chair, and I'm spacing out, just thinking about I don't know what. And I look over, and they're all sitting in their chairs. All of them. And I'm sitting there just going, yeah, no. And I went, oh, my God. They're all there. I'm to myself. And I'm like going, oh, wow. And they're all. And I'm going, this is crazy. I can't believe it. I'm sitting here, and they're right there. They're all right there. Look, there's Sulu. Hi, Sulu. How you doing? Word Factor 2, Captain Word. Look, there's Scotty. Hi, Scotty. Inside, I was geeking out so bad, and in those days there were no cell phones, there was no anything like that, so you couldn't just take a selfie, you just couldn't take a picture. But that was a moment that stands out because you're with your heroes, It's like sort of like saying, yeah, the Beatles are, I love the Beatles, and I played all their music, and I'm like, yeah, the Beatles want you to play with them. Yeah. So that was a great moment. Thank you.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
I'm really awkward.
No, you're blue
it's
when you got antennas.
Yeah. I kind of forgot.
Like you didn't know that
No,
you're
I
blue
forgot.
when you have
It's okay.
antennas. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, spoiler alert, sorry.
Okay.
In the episode when in Deep Space Nine, when Jadzia dies, what was that like for you to know that you weren't going to be working with her? Was there like an emotional reaction to that for you?
Yeah, it was very emotional because Terry and I were friends before she got the show, and so when I came back to do the show, it was like, oh my God, this is great. I became great friends with all of them, but especially Terry, and especially when we became, like the couple on the show. It was like fantastic. It was just this great. I don't think that they could have, planned it better. And if you talk to the producers, they said the same thing. They were just kind of going, oh, great, Michael's on the show, Worf's on the show, blah, blah, blah. And our first scenes together, they went, oh, my God, this is it. And so it was really going very well, exceptionally well. And to have that kind of snatched away when it was going to go into the last year of the show, it was pretty bad. I think there was a lot of different emotions going on with her because she wanted to stay. It was a contractual, production decision, and I wanted her to stay, but, there was nothing you could do about it. I'm sorry? Yeah, it wasn't anger for me, but it was just like, I think that they had made a mistake, and you can't take it back. And so it was emotional. She and I got pretty emotional about it, and it was sad to see her go. But it was kind of cool because in our business, when you leave a show, it's a really tough thing to do because they weren't exactly pleasant about her leaving, and so you know the old saying, "You'll never work in this town again." That whole kind of thing, they didn't say that, but it was kind of the. And then she goes and gets a highly rated sitcom with Becker, which is great, and she did a movie about I mean it was wonderful for her. But I was like, you guys are idiots. You guys are idiots. Make the deal with her. Make her feel just for one more year. What do what's that going to hurt? So, hi.
Your voice is.
You can turn it down a little bit. There you go.
Yeah, I'm short. Your voice is very distinctive.
Yes.
And when we watch TV at home, we always can pick out your voice when you do voiceovers. Do you have a preference for doing like actual on-camera work or voice work? Is there one you like better?
I wouldn't say better. I love being on camera. I mean, I think that's my first love. Voiceover work is a very easy job, except for books on tape. They are, because you're reading hours and hours and hours out loud, and it just gets a little crazy at times, especially the books you read. I mean, there was a couple of books. I read a book that was a Star Trek book. That was kind of fun because you're doing other people's voices and things like that. But the actual book on tape that the other one I did was James Conrad's Heart of Darkness. And after 2 days and 8 hours a day of reading, you wanted to blow your brains out because it was dark and ugly. So, but the voiceover stuff. These people are so sharp and professional and economy with words and time and everything. You go in, you say the lines, and you're gone. I mean, they get what they want very quickly, and you're out of there. I mean, because they always say they schedule you, and they go, okay, Michael, they schedule for 4 hours, and I'm going, you're not going to need 4 hours, and I go in there and do it, and it's pretty easy. You don't have to get dressed up, you don't have to put on makeup, you don't anything. So it's quite an easy gig, but it's a very closed gig. I mean, there's only a very small circle of people that do everything. And it's really tough to get in that little circle. I got in there just a little bit, and then they kicked me out. So, yes.
I just want to say I enjoyed talking with you yesterday. And
you enjoyed talking to me yesterday?
Yeah. And
I
today?
didn't enjoy talking to you.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was so painful.
Well,
you asked for it. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the things I did bring up yesterday, and I know that I watched animated on Cartoon Network.
Uh-huh.
You played the Weasel.
Yes.
And when I first, like the lady said, that you have a distinguished voice, it kind of sounds like the voice from you used for Worf in Star Trek. So did you use that kind of? No, they didn't want a Worf voice. They wanted a very hi, I am Weasel. Yeah. Very erudite and very proper. Now. I see the difference. Okay.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Yeah, I had a ball doing Weasel. That was a very funny show. I wish it had gone longer because it was one of those shows where they were taking a lot of liberties with a lot of interesting things. They were saying some stuff, that was pretty raunchy. And I go, and every time I get the script, I go, you can say that? And they go, oh yeah, And they had this running thing with standards and practices because they wanted to, standards and practices say, okay, you can't say that. You can't say that. So they would say something that was so outrageous or write something, and they go, oh my God, and people have heart attacks, And they said, oh, okay, well, can I say this? And they go, well, yeah, you can say that. And they didn't realize that they were letting them say stuff that I can't even say the stuff that they said, But it was a blast. I had a good time with that. Made some great friends, it's hard to say what you like best out of the business. I've been very fortunate that I've done just about everything. But the next thing that I really want to tackle is directing. I directed a bunch of Star Treks, and I directed an episode of Pamela Anderson's VIP, and then a sitcom in New York, and that's kind of where I would like to go next. So, but in that, we are Marina and I got some great news the other day that looks like that there's a bio picture that I wrote with Marina about Maria Callas, who is an opera singer, and Maria Callas, who is Greek. Marina's Greek, and so she's going to play this character, and it looks like it's going to happen. We're very excited, yeah, but it's going to be wonderful. But the other thing too about the business is, especially we were working really hard to get this Captain Worf thing going, and when I learned that that they were going to do their own show, it was like, oh wow, but I wasn't sad about it. It was one of those things where you kind of go, okay, well, I'm liberated now. It's one of those things where, okay, now it's over. Let's move on to the next thing. So we started writing. In fact, I already finished. I just haven't got the ending yet, to a science fiction pilot movie. Start off with for just Michael Dorn and not Worf or anything like that, but it will be science fiction, it will be space, and it will be the sort of like a Gene Roddenberry model of you're on a ship and you're out there discovering, aliens and getting into battles and stuff like that. So it kind of liberates you to do other stuff, and you're not just stuck in Star Trek things. Hi, you got you're not going to spray me, are you?
No, I'm not plugged in.
Okay, good.
So I have a question. They did a documentary of captains, and Patrick Stewart was in there, and he said that in the beginning of The Next Generation, he said that he said in the beginning of the show when you were first filming the first season that he was very serious about it. He said at one point everyone was having fun and kind of not taking it as seriously as it was, and he said, "We're not here to have fun."
Oh, that's a great line. Yeah. Did you hear that from Marina or something like that?
Well, he had said it in a documentary in Captain. So I get kind of a two-part question.
Sure.
Was it like that for you? Were you having fun in the beginning, or were you more of a serious person? And then later on, when Denise Crosby left the show and you were chief of security, how was that feeling for you?
Interesting. Good question. I wouldn't say that Patrick was ultra serious. That line that you said that he said, that did happen. But he was serious, but he wasn't like, we're not supposed to laugh. No, but because he got a little out of control too that first year. And so, no, it was one of those things where when you first get a job like that, you just go in, especially for me, since I wasn't part of the crew, like at the very beginning. I just went in and did my job and left and went home. That was kind of it. It wasn't until the end of the first year, beginning of the second season, that it started to get to be a lot of fun, where we realized that we could do really great work and really enjoy ourselves at the same time. Because the one thing that we had going for us was that we'd all been in the business for a while at that point, and we all were professional. We all kind of knew what to do, and so when they said action, we were in character and we're doing our thing. And when they said cut, we were out of character, and we just went ape shit, which was great. In fact, the second season, I think the bloopers of the second season, you could see that I was out of control. And it wasn't because of anything except that I was just having so much fun. And it kind of worked its way into, as you see the bloopers, there were times where I couldn't contain myself. And it wasn't exactly all my fault, because if you look at the Next Generation, we're on the bridge, and everybody is in front of me. I'm the last actor in the back. And so they would go from the front to back. They'd start in the front, do all the coverage and everything like that, and then I was the last one. And, things would happen. I mean, they'd run out, because they weren't on camera anymore, and they'd get in their, street clothes and be doing all their lines in street clothes and hanging out and stuff like that, and I'm still have to be in character. And a lot of times, Patrick would say, I'd be at the screen, and he'd go, yes, we will want our people to return to us immediately, or something like that. And he'd turn around and walk back to his chair. But as he turned around and walked back, he and Jonathan, they'd be making faces at me the whole time. He'd be going, doing all this and looking at me. And I'm like, and I've got to be serious. And it just blew it for me. It just blew it for me. And so, but after that, I calmed down. Third and fourth season, much better. But it really was one of those things where it became a great time. But we were able to not waste time and not waste film and not because of what we did, we never did end up, shooting 16 hours when it should have took 4 hours or something, So that never happened. But other than that, it was it got to be a blast. And it was an interesting thing going over to Deep Space after that, because Deep Space was a very serious show. I mean, Patrick at first, very serious actor, and we give him a lot of grief about that. But Deep Space was the whole set was very serious and very quiet. And, when they'd say, okay, action, okay, cut, thank you very much. And everybody kind of would go to their respective places. And when I get over there, I'm like, hey guys, hi, how you doing? What's going on? And they're like, shh, Michael, no, don't, be quiet. I'm like, why? We're very serious over here, And I'm going, not for long, because, you can't do this. And so after about a year, they lightened up a lot. And I wouldn't say they were as crazy as we were, but we started having a lot of fun, which was great. And I like to think I opened them up, because they were, like I said, you go over there and it's like a church, or it's like, hi everybody, we're ready to shoot. Jesu Domine, dona eris requiem. No, come on, let's have some. It was crazy, but like I said, it worked out. And even although the Next Generation, we still are very close, and we still love hanging out with each other. I mean, I think we wouldn't do the reunion shows if we aren't crazy about each other. And we do the shows like we come here and do a show or any place else, and we're always together. We're always having dinners together and hanging out. And it's been great. But Deep Space wasn't like that, but we still are very close. I mean, I saw Nana in Dallas and had a great time with her. Kitty and Armin Shimmerman and his wife, great friends, and we have a great time together. Whenever I see all the other actors, I mean, it's really wonderful. But it's just not the tight-knit group that Next Generation was. Hello. Okay. You may sit. Hi. Not you again.
Yeah, back again.
Up to here. Go ahead.
The episode with you and Guinan, that played by Whoopi Goldberg, how was your relationship working with her? I know there was an episode you was in the holograph or whatever, and she was trying to make you laugh, and you were real serious, and she made a comment like, I've heard a Cleon laugh before because it make a hair stand.
Yeah.
So how was it working with her through the time when she came in?
Whoopi was one of the group. She is a incredibly smart but down to earth individual, and we just had a ball with her. I mean, because you got to think that at the time that she joined the show, she was a major star. I mean, major, still is, but I'm just saying she was at the top. I mean, she had done all these movies and was doing very well, and she's the one that approached us about being on the show. And the one thing about us is, you know, if you come on the show, you have to like kind of sink or swim with us. I mean, you can't come on the show and be a diva, or you can't come on and be, you know, kind of an asshole or something like that, because, you know, or if you're not like doing really well, or if you don't know your lines and you're just, you know, kind of, it doesn't work with us. We're pretty tough, and so she just fit right in, because first of all, she's a big star, and all of us loved her as Whoopi Goldberg, as, you know, the stuff. So we admired her. Yes. Who created her as Guinan? I have no idea. She just showed up with a big flat hat on, and that was it. Hi.
Hi, again.
Once again. Did you break it? No, you are. Nah.
Okay, sorry.
That's right.
Did you have a favorite alien race? I know you said you were preferential to Klingons, of course, but aside from Klingons, did you have a favorite alien race that was just your favorite?
I would say no. I really didn't. You never really top 10? What?
Yeah. Top 5?
No means there weren't any that I. No. When I was growing up, I loved the Klingons, but I gotta say no. There wasn't really a favorite that stood out. I mean, because we were always they were in and out so fast. It wasn't really, except for the Dominion and the Jemadar, but they weren't my favorite, which worked because I didn't like any of them. It was easy for Worf to be like, he didn't like any of them either, which is great. Hi.
Yeah, there was that race that did Mick Fleetwood play in one of those two races.
Yeah, the fish race. We can't hear
race.
you. You have to turn the speaker.
You said that they were a handsome race.
That was I was lying.
You was?
No, they weren't a handsome race. They're fish.
Yeah. The main question is, do you really like prune juice? And what's some of the weirdest props you had to work with?
I think prune juice was the weirdest, and you guys are to blame for that, because they came up with this idea, and in our business, well, let me put it this way: for me, whenever the producers would come down and they would say, "Oh, Michael, we're going to be doing this," and there's a scene. It's going to be very cute. That to me was death, because whenever they say it's going to be cute, I just went, "Oh, great," And they came up with this thing about prune juice, and I said, "Okay, it's an idea." But what happened is that we were doing conventions at the time, and just like with Scotty and his scotch, people would bring me prune juice. Surprise me with prune juice. "Oh, Mr. Dorn, we have something for you." And at first, it was funny. "Oh, thank you." Very funny. And then after about, a year of, "Hey, Mr. Dorn, we have something for you." "Yeah, I know, prune juice, right?" "Yeah." And I hated, in those days, I hated throwing away anything. And so sometimes I would bring it home and, because the conventions weren't that far away, and stick it in my refrigerator. And my mother was fond of coming over and, nosing through all my personal stuff. And she goes into the refrigerator and she opens up, and there's 10 bottles of prune juice. And so she goes, "Michael, are you all right, boy?" And I go, "Yes, Mom, it's are you sure?" I go, "Yes, Mom," But but it was an interesting idea. I think it was cute, and they liked it. But you know, but there weren't any weird props. The only thing that was pretty horrifying was there was a scene or a show where we were all regressing to our basic things, and so before I was in the 10 forward eating raw stuff, and you know, they didn't like, it wasn't fresh, you know, it wasn't like they'd kept in a refrigerator, and you know, it was all raw and it started to stink really bad, and they wanted me to eat the tentacles, an octopus tentacles, and I just couldn't. I mean, I could barely get through it, and that to me was the weirdest thing, you know. But of course, they thought it would be cute if I ate tentacles. Hi.
I was wondering if there was anything the writers ever included for you to do that you strongly disagreed with because you did not think it fit the character of Worf.
I am not a merry man. I didn't want to wear that outfit. I hated that outfit. Hated it. And they said, "Oh, Michael, it would be cute if you were Will Scarlet," you know? And I'm like, and I had tights and, you know, the red thing and the hat with the feather. I mean, it looked like a Klingon pimp, you know? It was just horrifying. So when it came to that line, I really felt that way. I was like, I did not want to be there. So, but they always, you know, and the wedding scene, you know, I mean, they love heavy leather and heavy fur and heavy this and gloves and this and all that type of stuff. And, you know, of course, it's hot. I mean, it's really, really hot and stuffy. And of course, they look at it, they go, "Wow, that looks great." Yeah, you know, but no, it's terrible. But you know, there weren't many of those, but I think the other one was when I was in the mud bath. That was fairly disgusting, you know. But, you know, those are occasional things that happen. Look at that. But other than that, you know, it was a really great ride. The other actors were great. The producers were great. One of the questions that we get all the time is that, you know, was I happy with the character? Was I happy with the direction? And I got to tell you, I never had to run up to the offices and scream and yell at these people about, "Oh, I want this and I want this, and the character's not going well, and I never had to do that. I mean, I know that, you know, I was the last one cast, and so I knew that I wasn't going to get every episode, wasn't going to be about me. But I tell you, the episodes they have were choice episodes. They really stood out, and I enjoyed them, and they gave me some really good stuff, you know, to do. The same with Deep Space. So I was very fortunate. But it became a thing where the tough part was just the makeup. Was just getting in makeup, and because they said something very interesting to the producers. They didn't look at the actors as like it's a funny line. He says Worf didn't wear makeup, and so they would just say, "Okay, yeah, Worf is there. Worf is there. Worf is there. He's in there. He's in the one scene. He's in that one scene." And I'd come in and get in makeup for 4 hours or 3 hours and sit there for 10 hours and do one scene, and it was pretty tough. But luckily they changed it, and they definitely changed it in Deep Space where it didn't work out. It wasn't like that. So it worked out pretty well. But I did get in makeup. I vowed I never would for Ted 2, the movie with Seth MacFarlane and the Little Bear. I did get in kind of makeup for that, and it brought back memories. And at the time, the whole thing about the Klingon, the Captain Worf, was going on, and so they put on this makeup, not even fully, and it just brought back these memories. And I thought to myself, what am I thinking about trying to do another Worf episode? I don't want to get into this stuff again, But it like I said, you forget. Over years, you forget that it was pretty brutal. But any more questions? Yes. Could you come up here?
Okay, nice to meet you, by the way.
Thank you.
Yesterday, I tried to stump the Star Wars guys on the trivia, which I did, which is a question about you. And once again, it was Family Guy.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek, my bad. But I digress. The question was Star Trek related. You brought up Seth MacFarlane, and that's the question I was going to make. In the episode where Stewie reunites the whole Enterprise cast, how much fun did you have with that, and what was it like to meet Seth MacFarlane?
Well, it wasn't a lot of fun, not for any reason that it was so fast. I mean, it was really fast. It was like 5 minutes, maybe, to do the lines. And Seth was there, and he was great. I mean, he was, the great thing about Seth is that he's just a guy, which, for me in my world is the biggest compliment you could pay to anybody. He's just a good guy, and that was fun. But he did call me back to do another voice of a preacher who was actually singing, which was great. I had a great time doing that. But no, and we didn't work together. All of us weren't there. We came in. They made arrangements whenever we could make it in. We came in, did our 5 minutes, and took off. So. But because of that, I think he just got the idea about this Michael Dorn, Worf, Ted 2 in his head, and so that's where it led. But it was great. I had a great time.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. You again?
You were talking about the makeup. To do your lines, when they put the Klingon teeth in your mouth, was that kind of hard?
No. I mean, it was difficult at first, but no, it wasn't hard. Hi. You can take that out of there. Yeah, there you go. Hi.
With playing Worf for so long, has that made it harder for you to get other acting work?
No, it hasn't. Thankfully, when I got the role, I knew that it was going to be one or the other. Either it was going to end my career, or I would just be, when I got out of the makeup after how many years, I'd be a new face. And it was the latter. I mean, I was a new face, but also, you had the credit of being on the show. And a lot of producers, a lot of directors loved the show, and so I got hired to do many, many episodes of a lot of stuff over the years, a lot of movies. Just because they said, oh, the guy who plays Worf, oh, we'd love to have him, and so that worked out really well. I think one of my favorite things was I worked with Bob Pine, who was Chris Pine's father on Chips, and one of the shows I did was this movie where he was a pilot, and I had to kill him, and he and I just couldn't hardly contain ourselves. We were laughing so hard, because I had to hit him with a gun and just kill him, and I was like, "This is what you get for Chips," and don't ever do that again, and it was great. So I've had a great time. I worked with Dennis Hopper, which was a great time, fabulous time. I worked with who else? Just people that I've long admired. And so, what's her name? Glenn Close, thank you. I worked with Glenn Close, which was great, and just and there's a lot of these people. Even the guy who played Kor, John Colicos, I always admired him. In and out of Klingon makeup, I thought he was wonderful. And the 2 episodes I did with him were just amazing episodes. So it's been a great time. And so I got to say that it worked out really well. It worked out really well. I'm sorry, I can't keep. Oh, did I keep any of the stuff from the show after it was over? No. I know. No, I don't know if I still have it, but the last headpiece that I had, I think I kept that, and I was going to put the teeth in lucite and just have it like, but that kind of didn't happen yet. I think Michael Westmore still has them someplace. I think when his wife and he are like in those moments, he probably puts them in and starts, hello, honey, how are you? Oh, Worf. You're so sexy. But anyway, so it's, but no, I people have talked about that they take a lot of stuff, I think Marina said she took some stuff, but I think the one thing that they let you take is your chair, with your name on the back and all that type of stuff. They did let you take that. So I have a couple of those from the movie and from the TV show. But that's it. I mean, I'm kind of weird like that. I think when something's over, I go, okay, that's it. I'm done, and that's it. But little did I know. But otherwise, it's one of those things where, I had thought about taking maybe a uniform but just didn't feel right. Oh, it looked like you were going to say something. So you are going to say something.
Yes. 2 questions.
Yes.
First question would be, what was your favorite episode you directed? And the second question is, do you have any advice for young actors trying to get into the business? Thank you.
Well, there's an episode where we get introduced to Station 51 or something like that on Deep Space, which is kind of a Kafka-esque episode, and I enjoyed that. What was the second question? Oh, any advice for young actors trying to get in the business? Yeah, I'd say get as much education as you can in the business, in terms of, go to school for acting. And once you're out of school, do as much theater as you can. Anything to get you noticed. The interesting thing, the great thing is now with YouTube and all that stuff on the internet, I mean, you could do your own show. Get your friends together, do your own show, and that really is a good way to get people to notice you. Before you couldn't do it. I mean, it was just so difficult because you needed to do it on film, and to get even a short thing it was crazy. But now, God, you can do it with your iPhone. But the one thing is that your opportunities don't happen a lot, and you have to be ready for them. So if you're ready, if you're prepared, you've been to school, you know how to do it, you've acted in plays. When somebody points at you and says, "Hey, could you do this?" You're ready, and that is your opportunity. And that's what I would say. And you have to be in LA or New York. I mean, it's just the way it is, There's a lot of stuff in the Midwest now. Chicago has a lot of stuff. The South is going crazy with a lot of production, but it starts in New York and Los Angeles. So that's another thing you got to do. Save up your money and move to Los Angeles. Cool. Yeah. That's it. I want to thank you for coming out. I want to 1 second. I want to thank you for supporting the show. Like I said at the beginning, it really is an amazing phenomenon, especially for us, because no other show in the history of television that has this type of following. I mean, you don't see, L.A. Law or Law and Order, having conventions where people show up dressed as lawyers, So, so it's pretty amazing, and hopefully this will be around a long time, and you'll get many, many years of enjoyment from it. And I appreciate it, and thank you very much.